Hi, I wanted to take a quick minute and just share with you how I created this verse map for this particular verse of scripture. I've been asked a few times how I create my verse maps, and so I wanted to explain this one in just a quick video. And so what I first do is I'll write out the verse, obviously, and you can, of course, choose the version of the verse that you use. And we read the King James Version at my church, which is why I always kind of start there, but I never stick with just one version. I'm always looking at different and multiple versions of the same verse. So we're looking at Psalm 51, verse 12. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation and uphold me with thy free spirit. And what's important to know about verse mapping is that you've got to do this in context, because if you're just looking at the verse without looking at its larger context within the chapter, within the book even, it loses the meaning that the Lord has for us in the passage. You know, God wrote scripture for us, but not to us here in the 21st century. And so this particular passage, you probably know, was written by David. David wrote a lot of the Psalms, and this particular passage was written, I'm going to just take a look at it digitally. If you look at the intro to the verse, or to the chapter, excuse me, it tells us that, it tells us the context of this passage. It's a Psalm of David when the prophet Nathan came to him after David had committed adultery with Bathsheba. And so we know who the author is, we know why the book was written, we know the context. And so now we can begin to kind of look at the verse and map it and its individual components. So one thing I like to do is begin to pull out the words of the keywords in the verse and take a look at their Greek or Hebrew meaning. And this is the Old Testament, so of course we're looking at Hebrew words. And this is very easily done with something like Bible Hub. Let me grab that real quick. And all you have to do with something like Bible Hub, I think Bible Gateway might do it, I'm not sure, but it is really easy. Oh, I know a Blue Letter Bible does it as well. And all you have to do is find the verse that you're looking for, 51:12, and if you tap the verse here in Blue Letter Bible, it offers you the option of several different things. So you can tap the interlinear / concordance, and you can take a look at each of the words in the verse and what their Greek, excuse me, in this case Hebrew, word is in Strong's. And so this is H7725. The pronunciation guide tells us that it's pronounced shub. It's spelled S-U-B, and then it tells us what that word means. And also, if you keep scrolling down, it'll tell you where else you can find that word in the Bible. And what I really like about this is it helps in terms of looking at cross references. You know, where else does the Lord give us this word? How else can we interpret its meaning? And so if you tap on one of the words, then it shows you where else in Scripture that particular word is being used. The word was restore, restore in the original verse we're looking at in the King James. And even though it might be used as the word return, it is still the same Hebrew word. And so that's the word that where you can make your connections and your cross references. And another way to do that is when you tap on the verse, to tap on cross references, and it shows you other places again where restore is used, where joy is used, and it might not be again the same English word in each of these passages, but it's that same basic Hebrew word that's being used. And again, that's just a way to establish cross references. So what that looked like for my verse map is I looked at, as I said, the King James Version, and I looked at the New American Standard 1995 version of the same verse. these were some of the cross references, and I just talked to you about how I looked at those cross references. And these are the words in their Hebrew or original words. And then I also like to maybe get a colored highlighter and begin to kind of make connections with that as well. So the word restore, which we looked at, pronounced shub, is the word restore here in 2 Samuel 9, verse 7. And the word joy, for example, is in Isaiah used as the oil of gladness. And now that's a different version, but it's Isaiah 61. And so that's how I'm able to make connections. And again, I'm always mindful of the context, because out of context, the verse does not have the meaning that the Lord wanted us to get from that. This is such a huge topic, so many ways to verse map. This could definitely warrant a series of videos, but that is how I created that verse map.